மணிகளில் சரடென்ன உயிர்தொறும் நானா மதந்தொறும் moruvaṉā maruviணை நீரான் மணிகடைந்தன maṇameṉuṅ கல் maruvaṛak kaḍaiyaniṉ அருளொளி மேவும் maṇiyoḻi என்ன பிரிதொரு பொருள் பற்றும் மருவுறல் lilainiṛaள் padiyagaṭ ṭiṉviṇ maṇiyoḻi padaniṛal padiyumō vuṉṉiண் maruporu Arunachala ஒளிமலை உண்டோ.
In this series of eight videos, I'm talking about the 8 verses of Arunachala Aṣṭakam, a poem of 8 verses composed by Bhagavan. This poem is a mixture of devotion to Arunachala with many of the principles of Bhagavan gnāna teachings. In this poem, Bhagavan is beautifully blending bhakti and gnāna. So the implication in this, throughout many of the verses of this poem, is that the real form of Arunachala is not just the outward form, the form of a hill, but the real form of Arunachala is the pure awareness that is existing in our heart as I. Bhagavan ended the previous verse saying, Aruna mamalēyanam maniye. Mani means a gem, so he's addressing Arunachala as a gem called the peerless great Arunachala. Their gem is referring to a gem of pure awareness. So because that verse ended with the word money, this verse begins with the word money, and each line of this verse begins with this word money. In the first line, what Bhagavan says is, maṇigaḻiṭ caraḍeṉa vuyirdoṟu nāṉā matandoṟu moruvaṉā maruviṉai nīdāṉ. The first phrase, maṇigaḻiṭ caraḍeṉa, is an analogy, like the thread in gems. That means implies in a string of gems, in a necklace, or that is in a string of gems, like the thread in that string of gems. Vuyirdoṟu nāṇā matandoṟu moruvaṉā maruviṉai nīdāṉ. You alone shine as the one in each soul. Vuyirdoṟu means in each and every soul. Nāṇā matandoṟu, and in each and every one of the many matas. Mata means a religion, a spiritual philosophy, or any. In this context, it means any spiritual or religious system of belief. So most religions or spiritual philosophies have some sort of concept of one reality, one God, or whatever. So Bhagavan is saying it is Arunachala alone is the real is the one. The one here means the one real substance in each soul and in each and every religion or each and every spiritual philosophy. That is, since spiritual philosophies usually talk about one reality, whether they call it God or nirvana or whatever name may be given to it, there is one ultimate reality in every all deeper spiritual religions or philosophies. So that's what Bhagavan is referring to here. So Arunachala is the one that is worshipped as God in all these different religions, or worshipped as, or revered as whatever is considered to be the one ultimate reality, whether God or nirvana or whatever. So just like the string in a string of gems, what holds them all together is that one thread running through them. So Arunachala is the one thread running through all jivas and all religions. That is thread here. The one means the one real substance, the one pure awareness that is shining in each one of us as I, and that is shining in each religion as God or the ultimate reality. Then in the second line, he begins to talk about the actual practice of self-investigation. He's referred to that practice indirectly in several of the previous verses, in the previous two verses, but in this verse he talks about it more explicitly. He gives a very beautiful analogy here. Maṇigaḍain. That means like grinding a gem. If a diamond is taken out of the ground, it has to be ground to expose all its brightness and luster, to remove all the impurities that are clinging to it. To remove that, it needs to be ground. Likewise, he says, maṇameṉuṅ maruvuṟa ṉaruḻoḻi mēvum. That means maṇameṉuṅ maruvuṟa. Kaḍaiyaniṉ means when ground, when the mind is ground on the stone called mind, maruvuṟa, to remove its blemishes, to ṉaruḻoḻi mēvum, the light of your grace will shine forth. What Bhagavan means by grinding the mind on the stone called mind, when we turn our attention within to try to just be calmly self-attentive, that self-attentiveness has a purifying effect on the mind. So it is like grinding the mind on the stone called mind. That is, attending to ourself has that purifying effect. That is what will maruvuṟa, it will remove the blemishes, the defects. So all the impurities in our mind, the most effective way to purify them is only by self-attentiveness. Because what are the impurities in our mind? It's all our desires, attachments, likes, dislikes, hopes, fears. All these things are pertaining to things other than ourselves. So when we try to turn our attention within to attend to ourselves alone, we are withdrawing our attention from all other things, and thereby we are weakening our desires and our attachments for those things. So the most effective way, since the impurities of the mind are the desires and passions that draw it outwards to attend to other things, attending to ourselves is the direct way to purify the mind. So that is what Bhagavan refers to as the grinding the mind on the stone called mind. Here, in this context, mind means not all other thoughts, but the first thought, the thought called I, that is ego. When ego attends to itself, that is what Bhagavan refers to here as maṇameṉuṅ kaḍaiyaniṉ, the mind, grinding the mind on the stone called mind. Why do we do that? Maruvuṟa, to remove its blemishes. And what will be the result of that? When the mind is perfectly purified, when all the desires and attachments are given up, along with their root, the ego, ṉaruḻoḻi mēvum, your grace will, the light of your grace will shine forth. What is the light of His grace? It's that pure awareness shining in our heart, which is drawing us, we all naturally have love for ourselves, but because we take ourselves to be this finite form of this body, we get desire for things other than ourselves, because in order to survive in this body, we need food, clothing, shelter. So many needs arise when we rise as ego. So all these desires, the root of all these desires is the rising of ourself as ego, because we rise as ego by attaching ourselves to a body and taking that body to be ourself. So, instead, the natural love that we have for ourselves becomes distorted and takes the form of desire for other things. When the mind is purified of all its desires, the light of grace, that's the light of pure love, shines forth. That pure love, that grace, is our real nature. So that is what shines forth when all desires are removed. And the desires can be removed only when their root is removed. We need to give up desires to a great extent in order to turn our attention within, but we can free ourselves from desires entirely only by getting rid of their root, which is ego. And to get rid of, since ego is a false awareness of ourself, it can be destroyed only by correct awareness of ourself. So it is only by turning our attention within, looking at ourselves so keenly that we see what we actually are, thereby ego is destroyed, along with it all its remaining desires are destroyed, and what then remains, that pure love that then remains, that is what Bhagavan refers to here as the light of your grace shines forth. Grace is nothing but the infinite love that our real nature has for itself. So that is that power of that love, that is the power of grace that draws us back within and eventually swallows us in the infinite clarity of pure awareness. Then the last two lines is actually Bhagavan, it's actually 3 sentences. That is part of the second sentence. Second line is one sentence. Rest of that line and a part of the last line is another sentence, and the remainder of the last line is a third sentence. So these 3 sentences are, again, he begins with an analogy. maṇiyoḻi, that means like the light of a gem. Piridu oruporu paṭṛum maruvuṛa. Like the light of a gem, attachment to any other thing will not occur, is literally what it means, but we have to expand it a bit to understand it. When he says like the light of a gem, he means a perfectly polished gem will shine brightly and won't be affected by any colours that may be surrounding it. If you've got a bright red ruby, for example, even if you put it against a blue background or a green background, whatever colour background there may be, the redness of that ruby will not be touched. So like the red light of the ruby, or the colour or the brightness of any gem is not affected by nearby objects. Attachment to any other thing will not occur in a mind that has thereby been polished, is the implication. So when the mind is polished on the stone called mind, to remove all its defects, and when the light of grace thereby shines forth, just like the light of a gem is not diminished by whatever colours or objects may be around it, no attachment will arise in the mind that has been totally purified and thereby swallowed by the light of pure awareness, the light of grace. And then in the next sentence he gives another analogy. Nihilpadi tahatin viṇņmaṇiyoļi paḍaniṛal padiyumō. That means when sunlight has fallen on a photographic film, can any shadow or image be imprinted on it? Nowadays we use digital photography, but in Bhagavan's days, photography was still done in the old form of on a photographic plate or photographic film. If the light fell on that photographic plate, it would be exposed, and no other image could then be thereafter be impressed on it. So the implication of this sentence is, when when we turn within and are swallowed by that light of pure awareness, we cannot be aware of any other thing. Bhagavan in verse 27 of Aksharamlai, he says, Sakalam virangum kadirali yeṇappiṛi jalajamalaṭi Arunachala. He's referring to Arunachala there as the Sakalam virangum, swallowing everything. Kadirali Sakalam virangum kadirali yeṇappiṛi. That is the light, the sun. Inna means sun. The sun but swallows everything in its bright rays. Mana jala jamalati, make the lotus of my mind blossom. So there he's referring to Arunachala as the light, as the sun, but swallows everything. And in a similar prayer, he is there in the first verse of Arunachala Pancharatnam. He sings Arulniṛevāna amrakkadalai Viri kadiral yāvum virangum. Yāvum virangum means swallowing everything. So in both those verses, what Bhagavan implies is, when ego is destroyed, the whole universe will be destroyed. All phenomena will be destroyed along with it, because all phenomena exist only in the view of ego. So when ego is swallowed, no phenomena, no one will remain to see any phenomena. There will be no phenomena. Phenomena exist, phenomena just like in a dream. Just like everything we see in a dream is just our own mental projection and doesn't exist independent of our perception of it. Everything we see now, because Bhagavan says our present state, any state in which we are aware of phenomena, is a dream. So these phenomena that we see exist only so long as we see them. When the seer of phenomena, the ego, is swallowed by the light of pure awareness, all phenomena will be swallowed along with it. To explain that, Bhagavan gives this analogy. Just like when sunlight has fallen on a photographic film, the shadow of nothing else can be imprinted upon it. In other words, it can no longer grasp any images. When the light of pure awareness falls on the mind is just like an exposed film. It can no longer be aware of anything else. In fact, there is no mind there, because when that light of pure awareness devours the mind, there is no mind, because mind or ego is nothing but a false awareness of ourselves. So when we are aware of ourselves as we actually are, we will no longer mistake ourselves to be ego, and only when we mistake ourselves as ego are we aware of things other than ourselves. When I say we mistake ourselves, it is only as ego that we're aware of other things. And then in the final sentence, Bhagavan says, Vuṉṉiṉ maruporu Arunachala malai undo. Arunachala malai means Aruna, the hill of Nal literally means good or excellent. Here it implies intense. Hill of intense light. Aruna, hill of intense light. Vuṉṉiṉ maruporu undo. Is there anything other than you? That is the implication here. Is Bhagavan this is a rhetorical question. The implication of this rhetorical question is there's nothing other than you. Arunachala alone exists. So when ego is swallowed by Arunachala, we will see that what exists is only Arunachala, nothing else. Arunachala means our own real nature, pure awareness. So nothing other than that exists. From the perspective of our present state, we can say the ego is swallowed by Arunachala, and thereby the mind is like becomes like photographic film, but has been exposed to sunlight. It can no longer grasp any phenomena. But actually, from a perspective of Arunachala, from the perspective of our own real nature, there never was any ego, there never was any phenomena, because nothing other than our own real nature actually exists. In the 7th paragraph of nāṇā, Bhagavan says, Yatātamai ulladu atmaswarupa mondre. What actually exists is only atmaswarupa. So that atmaswarupa means the real nature. Swarupa literally means own form. But it's a term that is used to refer to real nature. So atmaswarupa means real nature of oneself. So that atmaswarupa is Arunachala, is what Bhagavan refers to here as Arunachala. Nothing other than that actually exists. So it's only when we rise as ego that other things seem to exist. But when ego is swallowed by Arunachala, what remains is only Arunachala. And in the view of Arunachala, nothing else ever exists. So Bhagavan ends this verse saying, vuṉṉiṉ maruporu undo. Is there anything other than you? Then he begins the next verse by saying, undu oruporu arivuļoļi ulamei ni. That means there is, here undo is a question, is there? Here he begins the next verse, verse 6, by saying undu, there is. Undu oruporu. Oruporu means one substance. Arivuļoļi, the light of awareness. Ulamei, only the heart. Ni, you. So the whole sentence means there is only one substance, you, the heart, the light of awareness. So in a way, though it's a rhetorical question he asked here, which clearly implies there's nothing other than you, the implication of the rhetorical question with which he ends this verse 5, he makes it very, very clear in the first sentence of verse 6. There is only one substance, you, the heart, the light of awareness. So here he clearly says what Arunachala actually is arivuļoļi, the light of awareness, ulamei, the heart. Oruporu, the one substance, the one real, that which actually exists is only Arunachala. There's no other thing. But in the next video I'll discuss this verse 6 in more detail, but I just referred to the first sentence here because it's drawing out what is clearly implied, or it's elaborating on what is clearly implied in this final sentence of verse 5. There's nothing other than Arunachala. That alone is real. And what is Arunachala? It's nothing but the light of awareness. It's nothing but our own heart, the core of the very center of ourself. What we actually are, that is Arunachala, and that alone exists. But in order to experience that alone exists, what do we need to do? We need to grind the mind on the stone called mind in order to remove its defects. Grinding the mind on the stone called mind means nothing but practicing this self-investigation, trying to turn our attention within, and thereby just being self-attentive. That is the way to see that what actually exists is only our own real nature.